This is Maginoni, and welcome to another edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Disappointing. First up, The Good, and that is Superior Spider-Man series finale, number 31. This was actually a really good issue. Could it have been better? I think it could have. And there's certain areas where I think they could have tightened things up a little bit, maybe have more of an impact, maybe more fighting in it. But regardless, I think it solves everything that people were complaining about. As expected, you're going to get Peter Parker back, and everything that Dan Slott pretty much did during his run of, from going all the way back, he's kind of like resetting things along the way. So this way, when we go to the Amazing Spider-Man #1 relaunch, just in time for the movie, it's going to be kind of a more familiar place for people who go see the movie. So for all those people out there who were bitching and moaning and complaining that Marvel forever ruins Spider-Man, and I told you so. And so did a lot of other internet people. We all told you so. Now, first off, I'm going to say is the art through the issue is pretty solid. There's two stories to it. One is your main part of the storyline, the battle, how Peters tries to put things back together in the final conclusion, to the Goblin War, and then also there's a little bit at the end which gives you like what takes place afterwards. So let's talk about the beginning part here. Now, in some cases, I think people realize, hey, that's really Peter now, a little too conveniently, but at the same time, when you have Spider-Man who's acting really crazy, and then he suddenly does a complete turnaround, it kind of makes sense that you would, somewhere in the back of your mind, you'd be going, something's not right. But that's besides the point. Overall, I'm kind of like, part of me is kind of really torn with this, because while you had some really good things along the way, the ending wasn't as strong as I wish it could have been. There is a couple swerves along the way. We get a potentially new supervillain, and I think, and I'm purposely trying to avoid the ending, like who is actually underneath the mask. And I think part of me is going, I expected a little more from it. And on the other hand, while I know that there's some extra pages that talk about the aftermath, I really enjoyed the aftermath, and I don't know if I would have enjoyed the battle more than the aftermath. Now, let's talk about the aftermath for a second. As you can see, the art style completely changes here. And basically, it's touching key people. May Parker, J. Jonah Jameson, Mary Jane, Charlie, and it's kind of gives you an idea of where everybody stands in this. And this actually has, what really kind of surprised me was where I thought this issue would have been all happy. Everything's back to normal again, it's great. But there's a tint of sadness. And it's mostly like you get some sadness because you see what Peter's life is like now. It's like what he lost. And at the same time, you have the Doc Ock's girlfriend who's like, I really love Peter, and I hope he's okay. And it's like, what? I mean, she's crying, and then it's like, what's Peter going to do to her? He knows nothing of this girl. He has no feelings for her, and now he's going to have to deal with that because he can't just hide. So, anyways, it overall, like I said, this had a lot of a lot of emotions, but overall, I thought it was a pretty solid issue. The bad. Okay. Who shot Bruce Banner? Now, granted, this could potentially, I think there could be some other bad ones, but let's put it this way. What they're basically doing here is this. Somebody shoots Bruce Banner, and then the doctor's brought in to do immediate surgery type thing. And basically, these people who are involved here, they're passing themselves off as S.H.I.E.L.D., but they're not really S.H.I.E.L.D. They're up to some shenanigans. And, like you also have a doctor here. There's a lot of pages wasted where you have a doctor that is trying to save Banner's life, and he actually knows Banner, and they're trying to explain how he knows him. So my guess is this guy's going to be important later on. If he's not, you've really wasted some pages. But basically what they're doing is they're kind of doing what they did with Superior, in that they've reset everything back to the way it used to be. And I'm kind of torn with that because, on one hand, Mindless Hulk is fine, but I think you can only get so much mileage out of him. A more intelligent Hulk makes things a little bit more interesting, but I think at the direction that the Hulk was going, it was getting to a point where it was getting pretty bad, and it really needed a change to do something, something to shake things up a little bit to try to change the course of the book. So this is why I'm kind of really torn with it. But I can say this is overall, am I really impressed with this? Not really. Do I care who shot Bruce Banner? Absolutely not, because they've also taken a little bit of what's been going on in the Avengers. And to me, it's just kind of like, well, I just don't care anymore about the Hulk as a character. I just kind of want to move on. So there's a good chance I'm probably going to drop the Hulk. And the disappointing, you know what? I don't really think this is a disappointing. I think it's a why should I care anymore about it book. And that is Justice League. This is driving me freaking insane. That's all I gotta say about the way they're managing this thing. I understand fully that this is things that are beyond their control. Maybe there are those lazy creators. Maybe there's emergencies that they have to deal with. But having this delay for the last issue of Forever Evil and having this thing dragged on longer, then they announced, okay, this is a spoiler, but they've already announced it, so they've announced the future plans of Dick Grayson even before Forever Evil's over, so it's like they spoil their big plot point to the whole Forever Evil. So when I see this issue here, I'm already going, I don't really care that much anymore. Well, but they'll be fighting, so let's give it a try. And, Johns does an okay job as a writer, and Doug Mankey did a good job for art. I mean, there's some really good dialogue between the Metalman and Cyborg right at the beginning. But then we go to the fighting part. And I'm starting to get really excited here. You have the Grid, and they set up the plan perfectly. Grid doesn't know they're there, can't see them, and then boom, the fight begins, and I'm getting excited and I'm happy. And then suddenly, right in the middle of the fight, you also get was it the Fearsome Five or one of those groups suddenly shows up, and I'm like, finally, we get a new supervillain group that that they're not constantly using all the time. So I was really excited. I mean, my excitement level was getting higher and higher and higher. And then we go into this battle in the minds of Grid and Cyborg, and then I really start to fall asleep, because what we started to do here is we fell into the trap of, well, we don't really want to do this big fight, and granted, Grid is this power like a virus, so you can't really beat him because the virus can move to another piece of electronics, so you have to beat him in this virtual world. And once they did that, there's no fight. That's all I gotta say. There is no fight. It's all a bunch of talking. And then by the time Cyborg comes out of this, guess what, guys? Fight's over. And I'm like, really? Fight is over. Like, that quickly. And I didn't really get to see anything cool. And then at the very end, we get, everybody meeting together, Trevor and Killer Frost, and we get another group of supervillains, and Cyborg leaves. And I'm just, face-palming it. Going, why, gosh, why? Why am I reading this book still? Why do I have no... This book, I actually was, as a series, I was really hoping for the best. And it just seems that for me at least, there's constant missteps along the way. Part of the missteps are the delays. Part of this is I'll call it like it is. There is no unique thought or originality put into this book whatsoever. This is a paint-by-numbers battle. Paint-by-numbers storyline. It did nothing cool. It did nothing original. They built up this Metalman as the savior of mankind, and they're fighting a bunch of Sonics. People with psionic powers. And we didn't even see the fight. Really? Really? I'm like, this is like, this... you know, it's just so frustrating that, it's kind of like I said, they have a cool concept, but they just resort to paint by numbers, and I expect better. I really do. I expect better, and I'm getting really sick and tired of being disappointed at every turn. It's just as a reader, I don't think it's fair. But anyways, that is my good, the bad, and the disappointing. I'd like to hear what your good, bad, disappointings are. Comments or questions, write them below. Like, share. Facebook, Crunchyroll Anime Reviews. More reviews later. Until next time.